Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Ferrari HP Esports series. We return once again to Watkins Glen. We rock around the Glen, as we did earlier on today, where the Asian Pacific region went out and about, with Russell Reyes cruising to a triple victory success and joins the likes of other sensational performers such as Will Chadwick, and also not forgetting the one, the only super fast Chilean who set the world alight, Nicolas Rubelar. It all started with him. Well, will we see yet another one join the show? Obviously, still lots to be certainly lots to be held and certainly lots to be had. Plenty of drivers looking to try and commit themselves to victory. And I think we'll see some more tonight. George Morgan here, your lead commentator. Alongside me, as always, the brilliant Nina Jade Paul. Nina, we're back. We're live. It's Europe tonight with many top drivers.
We are back. Welcome back to everyone that's watching as well. George, how are you?
I'm living the dream, Nina. All the better for us being back here and competing, and all the better for being joined by yourself as well. Looking forward to tonight.
Absolutely. I'm very excited to see what this round holds for us. Is there going to be someone that goes 3 for 3 this evening? Who knows?
There could well be. I mean, we've already had 3 drivers achieve that. Technically 4, if we want to go back to Cody Deeth, but unfortunately lost 2 of his victories in the stewards room. But we have got a hench grid tonight, everybody. Plenty of drivers who are taking part, obviously competing at the highest level, wherever it may be, of course, around the globe. We have, of course, got GT World Challenge drivers, for example. Many drivers who've competed in the Italian GT Championship for the HP Esports Foundation. Many others as well. So many drivers with lots of quality, even some real world stars as well from karting, even some that have taken part in hatchback championships as well. It is going to be absolutely sensational. I can tell you at the moment that it's Aidan Walshingham who is at the top of the practice standings, but we will of course go through and take a deep dive a little bit later on into all that. But let's take you through the format structure for the competition. 30 participants from hot laps and regional qualifiers came into this series with 2 rounds, 3 races for each round, all participants taking part in these, with the top 5 from each region then heading to the Ferrari HP Esports Series 2024 Grand Finals on the 5th of December at Ferrari World Yas Island, Abu Dhabi. Top 1 from AC, top 2 from iRacing and Assetto Corsa Competizione. A fast, fierce structure, and I must say, inviting the very best talents in the world. Here is how the race structure works. Race 1, grid will be decided by a 7-minute qualifying session, with race 2, the grid decided by race 1's result, and then we head into race 3, with the grid being set by race 2's result. And obviously the drivers looking to try and harness their performance, try and push themselves into the grand final. Remember, top 6 goes into the grand final, 2 from each region alike as well. So lots of action is going to unfold on track, and from what we've already seen as well, Watkins Glen is quite the place to obviously go racing. We witnessed it in Asia Pacific. A reminder as well, Thrustmaster Community Cup, you can register now, esportseries.ferrari.com. For those of you who can't take part in the regional finals that we're currently witnessing at the moment, you can get involved with 1 space up for grabs if you top the Thrustmaster Community Cup Hot Lap Challenge come the end of play in October. You'll have every chance of stamping your own ticket to Abu Dhabi as well, and joining those that make their way through the regional finals. Let's take you through the regions themselves. Asian Pacific, we of course went racing there earlier on today, and Europe is tonight. Americas will come later on. Of course, we've already witnessed all 3 regions taking part in iRacing, where of course we witnessed some great racing back at Imola in the Emilia-Romagna region. But tonight we go racing here in Europe with many of Europe's finest talents from all across the globe taking part here and looking to harness top spot. Will we see yet another driver go 3 from 3? We've already seen 3 do it. You never know, we might make it 4. Here is the calendar. We've already signed off Imola. Imola is done. We're on Watkins Glen. Asia Pacific went racing earlier on today, 4th of September, of course, being today's date. And now we're about to see European action now. Americas will come later on the 7th of September. We then head to Laguna Seca for round 7, 8 and 9, kicking off things with the Asian Pacific region on the 6th of September, following suit the same day by European region action, and then the Americas region kicks in on the 14th of September. We move into the second half of the campaign then. After that, at Summit Point, we witness the return of iRacing on the 30th of September for round 10, and then back again for both well, it's Asian and European for that date, and then back again on the 5th of October for the Americas region. And then Silverstone, the Earl Grey of World Motorsport, will be back on ACC action Round 13, 14 and 15. Round 13 and 14 being Asia Pacific and European. And then on the 12th of October, we go racing in the Americas. And then the final destination, Nürburgring, which will then decide the final drivers that will be considered qualified, or should I say the one driver remaining that will be qualified from Assetto Corsa to move into Abu Dhabi. That, of course, being on the 4th of October for round 16 and 17 for both Asia Pacific and European. And then the final one, Americas, will be on the 19th of October. So still all to play for. Quite a lot of racing to be had. We've already mentioned that the racing calendar in itself, very sharp, short, quick fire. Lots of opportunity, but at the same time, could be detriment to many drivers who are perhaps more used to the endurance side of things. In this format, remember, 3 races, of course, are ahead of us. And Nina, with us having such a short, I suppose, scenario where it comes to races, obviously when we consider 15 minutes, 3 races that are 15 minutes long, doesn't give drivers a lot of time. Track position is ever so important.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen on our previous rounds, the stakes are so high. Track position is king, George, and to have a good showing from the very, very get-go.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And we can talk about some of the talents as well, because we have got lots. And there's one in particular that I have got my eyes on, and that is the one, the only Luke Whitehead, the young 20-year-old from the UK, a multiple karting championship holder, and has had over 300 competitive podiums, a former sim tester as well for Arden. Now, one thing about Arden, they also began the career of one Carlos Sainz back in the old GP3 days of 2013, and of course a current Ferrari driver as well alike. Luke Whitehead obviously pursuing his motorsport and sim racing career by becoming a sim tester for Arden. Of course, later on, after that, has also gone on to take many great victories in the world of GT or sports car action in sim racing in itself. GT World Challenge action, Intercontinental Challenge 2024, a winner of the 6 Hours of Spa event in August as well, earlier on this year. And not forgetting many others that he's also managed to achieve. LFM Pro Champion, as well as an AOR champion 5 times running, and also winning the 2022 SRO GT World Challenge America Pro Championship and the 2022 NLR GT3 Cup Championship as well. I mean, that is a CV and a half, probably the biggest CV we have seen in sim racing in this very championship. But let's take you through the course of today. We're heading to Watkins Glen, home to what was the United States Grand Prix with them back in 1961 to 1980. 3.377 miles, 5.435 kilometers, 6 to 10 degree banking on certain corners as well. Born out of the imagination of Cornell University law student Cameron Ardensinger, proposing a Watkins Glen Grand Prix. Of course, eventually they would get one, and didn't they just indeed. And now we're here. Of course, it's an FIA Category 2 circuit, so obviously not necessarily suitable for Formula 1 in the modern era, but perfectly acceptable for sports car racing, and currently holds IMSA's 6 Hours of Watkins Glen and NASCAR's Go Bowling at the Glen and Xfinity's Mission 200 at this track as well. Very, very fascinating. Lots of action to come. And can I just say, speaking about Luke Whitehead and that CV, by the way, Nina, as amazing as it is, we've got many other drivers who have some equally astonishing accomplishments.
Honestly, George, some of these CVs will put our CVs to shame, I must say. I mean, you mentioned Luke Whitehead in endurance racing. I think he took part in a 24-hour race earlier in the year. He said he started hallucinating and he heard Jason Statham in his head telling him off for missing apexes. So he's very much used to endurance racing. Let's see how he fares in the sprints.
Well, as long as it's not the same Jason Statham as the one who played the guy in The Beekeeper, then I think he'll be okay. I watched that film, and I must say, I wouldn't want to be on the end of that. But yeah, plenty of other drivers to be worried about. Aidan Walsingham is another one to watch as well, also from the United Kingdom in Somerset. 27 years of age, everybody, and has already managed to achieve so much, even in the world of GT World Challenge. Actually came second in the 6 Hours of Spa-Francorchamps on August earlier this year as well alike. So he, too, a major threat against the likes of Luke Whitehead. But there's just so many. Looking at Gabe Orsarosi as well, someone else who we ought to look at, too, who's also taken part in regional qualifiers action just to get here and achieve some great results. Race 2 may have finished in P10, but he finished P4 in race 1 afterwards, and of course that was at Spa-Francorchamps, but he has also obtained the win in the 12 Hours of Kyle Army back in April, and also a winner at Indianapolis in a GT Pro Championship back in March. So lots of sensational drivers here, and I haven't even mentioned Kieran Prendergast, Jentel van Thielen, Linus Rutwich, or even Luca Locio, who is also a tenacious character. And what about Simeone Ezzi? I mean, I cannot believe the talent we have at our fingertips.
I'm intrigued with all these very large CVs. Is that going to neutralise the races and make it quite calm? Or is that going to crank it up and everyone's going to be on the aggressive?
I think it's going to crank it up somewhat. I mean, for instance, looking at the drivers now out on track, obviously they're all going to be chasing track position. No one wants to forfeit any slipstream. At the top of the shop, though, we mentioned Aidan Walsingham, obviously one to watch. Alexandre Chiron, also another driver from France, regional qualifiers split 2, actually took a P3 in race 1 and P2 in race 2 at Spa-Francorchamps, so does come into this with a little bit of form. But, I mean, those that qualified from the regional qualifiers that took back, that was basically taking place at Spa-Francorchamps, they can rest assured that there are some similarities in certain cornering areas to what we see at Spa. The mere variation, if you're able to succeed at Spa, then really, I suppose, you should be able to succeed at a track like Watkins Glen, Nina.
Absolutely. I mean, this circuit offers a unique blend of high-speed straights, technical corners, elevation changes, and because it boasts such long straights, it allows drivers to reach those blistering, scary speeds and provides ample overtaking opportunities. But like I say, despite its high-speed nature, it features a variety of technical corners, so it demands precision, finesse, and if you have that and raw pace, you're going to go well here.
Well, you certainly will. Ferrari 296 GT3 machinery being utilised as you'd expect. Top speeds at 330 kilometers an hour. That's 205 miles per hour, 0 to 62 in 2.9 seconds. And this 2.9 litre V6 engine, meaning a return to the 6-cylinder system that enhances fuel efficiency and therefore the friend of any endurance racer, but at the same time still harnesses that power that we saw from the Ferrari 488 alike. And now as we ride on board here with Kieran Prendergast, again, the driver that I alluded to that could be one to watch. He'll be representing the United Kingdom later on this year in the Motorsport Games, the FIA Motorsport Games, that of course has hit the heights in recent years. And Prendergast, no mean feat, that's for sure. SRO Silver Series back in 2020, but has since then gone on to do great things. Incidentally, actually utilises the Thrustmaster T300 RS wheel technology. Of course, Thrustmaster, a proud partner here of the Ferrari team, and now also helping Kieran Prendergast to victory as well, which, you know, we've got to speak about that. Having great wheel technology as well, Nina, is so imperative to great success.
Absolutely. And like I say earlier, it just injects confidence into your driving. Once you can go into this drive with confidence, it will only help you. But you know what? Regardless of these guys' CVs, you have to put in the work and the practice. We heard our 3-time race winner, Russell Reyes, earlier said he practiced on this track for a week, 1 week's worth of practice. So these guys are putting the work in behind the scenes.
They certainly are. Luca Locio goes fastest, 1:42.562, and that is faster by just over 1.5 thousandths of a second. Aidan Walsingham down in second place. Luke Whitehead pops into third fastest. Yannis Reinders as well. Can you believe Yannis Reinders, a driver as well, who has been competing at the highest level alike, like many others, only started racing back in 2022, and since then, only 2 years, he is here competing in the Ferrari HP Esports Series. Of course, a race winner at Spa as well for Clash of the Manufacturers Championship back in January. Of course, that's earlier this year as well as alike. And just the fact that he's done that and is also racing here in the Ferrari HP Esports Series is a phenomenal achievement. So congratulations to Yannis Reinders, and showing once again that he's here to compete. Fifth fastest right now. Luca Locio still on top. A 1:42.562 is exactly where we would expect some of the top times to be. Aidan Walsingham, though, I would not write him off to go faster by any means. He will be up there.
I wouldn't write any of these guys off to go faster. Like you say, their CVs are impeccable. It could be anyone's game, George.
Yeah, certainly can be. Sammy Joe, Abby Nackley as well is one to watch as we watch Stefano Bodsingwa make his way around the track. Of course, races regularly in competitive GT3 league action. Funny enough, using the Ferrari 296 GT3, so he'll be very familiar with this. Aidan Walsingham, incidentally, though, going faster than Luca Locio. That's a 1:42.402. There's Ethan Faulkner, who has been a very active karter in his time as well alike. I did allude to the fact we have quite a few drivers that have competed in real life. Ethan Faulkner is one of those as well. Leonardo Pagano is now up to 3rd. Alexander Chiron has popped into 7th. Luke Addison drops down to 10th, as does Marvin Butsin down to 11th, as Kieran Prendergast drops down, as Simone Simonara pops up into P5. Luca Lamonaco now making his way around the track, runner-up at Silverstone in the PPR GT3 Championship, also driving the Ferrari 296 in that championship as well alike, as Ethan Faulkner comes across the line. Where's Luca Lamonaco going to go? 8th fastest there for him. The man from Italy, Luke Addison from South Africa, or is also heading up towards the line. He pops up into P8, so more and more time starting to come through. Only 3 drivers have yet to send times, and that's Ruswich, Hop, and Alessandro, who sits down in 21st place.
Absolutely, and track position is king. Although this track boasts lots of overtaking opportunities, you want to start up high in the grid. Likes at F1, first place is 25 points, all the way down to 10th place, which will get 1 point for.
Yeah, absolutely right. Sami Joe, Abi Nakli as well. I was mentioning him from Lebanon, P1 in a race at Bathurst back in August, and he also won at the same circuit back in May. So very much a pro where it comes to Bathurst, and of course that is quite a difficult circuit. Coming here to Watkins Glen, I think you'll be delighted with the wider track width than you will find at Bathurst, and obviously has those imposing barriers. The barriers here aren't quite as close as what they are at Bathurst, as Luca Lozio goes back to the top with a 1:42.4.00. And just look at the top 2. 2,000 separating Aidan Walsingham as the timer ticks to 0. We have the last ditch laps coming in. Lozio putting a time in at the very last minute to put himself on top.
Fantastic, absolutely amazing. So for the race itself, turn 1 is pretty important, George. Once you're through there, it's pretty much flat out down the straight, and that's where you're going to be making some overtakes. So getting turn 1 right is crucial if you want to have a good run down there.
It definitely is. Kieran Prendergast moves up to 5th place ahead of Simone Simonara. Ethan Faulkner goes up to 7th as well. Luca Lamonaco, late in the day, moves up to 7th ahead of Faulkner. So Faulkner now down to 8th. Well timed there from Monaco, but it's Luca Lozio still on top. Luke Addison now drops Monaco. He moves up into 7th as well, just behind Simone Simonara. The top 10 all within 0.5 of a second. That's half a second in between P's 1 all the way down to P's 10. Here comes Daniele Farinelli up towards the line as well. Can he improve? No. Remains towards the rear. It's Luca Lozio who hits the heights, takes pole position, the young 18-year-old Italian who competed in the GT World Challenge Intercontinental GT Challenge Championship last year, and also was very successful in the ACI Sprint GT3. He was a champion in 2021-22 and also went ahead to win the ACI Endurance GT3 Championship in 22, 23 and 24. Also a Dallara Esports 2022 champion alike, just to list off a few of his accomplishments. Well, he's on pole this time in the Ferrari HP Esports Series. What a way to do it, ahead of Aidan Walsingham, Luke Whitehead. That is a trio of drivers that makes you quiver in your boots somewhat, Nina.
Gets me very excited, George, if you ask me. I'm very excited for turn 1 and to see what these drivers can do. I think it's going to be a really good race.
Yeah, well, if you tuned in, wherever you are in the world, welcome. Let's take you through the starting grid. Also, let us know who you're supporting here in the live chat. Luca Lozio starts on pole with Aidan Walsingham as well. Down in 2nd place, Luke Whitehead. In 3rd, Leonardo Pagano. In 4th, Kieran Prendergast as well. In 5th, Matthew DeCampo. In 6th, Simone Simonara. In 8th place, 7th place, Luke Addison in 8th place, with Luca Lamonaco in 9th. Ethan Faulkner will be in P10. Yanis Reinders in P11. 12th for Alexander Chiron, as well as 13th going to Stefano Boswingo. I tell you what, I'm going to need to get that pronunciation right, but nonetheless. Further down, Leon Hop in 14th. We've got Marco Vella 15th. Gabor Sarosi in 16th. Sami Joe, Abi Nakali as well, further down in 17th. Marvin Butsin in 18th. Linus Ruswich as well down in 19th place, with Jacopo Grillo in 20th. Daniele Farinelli as well rounds out that 21st place with Alessandro Alfano down in 22nd. So there we go. Incidentally, Stefano Bottignore, I think is the full name there, sat in 13th as well alike. But a very intriguing top three we certainly have right in front of us here. Luca Losio has got it all to do, despite his expertise driving GT3 machinery at just the tender age of 18. He's got to keep behind the imposing Aidan Walshingham, and also, not to mention, Luke Whitehead. Interestingly to note, Aidan Walshingham is a passionate guitar player. Let's see if he can pluck the strings of victory here tonight.
Oh, I like that one, George. He's from Somerset as well. Can you do the accent?
I can't. No, unfortunately, we're not talented enough as Welsh people to do the Somerset accent. But no, credit to Walshingham, a man of many talents. But at the same time, you'd be hoping to see whether he could achieve a victory here. It's going to be very exciting, folks. Obviously, let us know as to who you're backing in this very interesting race, and I cannot imagine for 1 minute that these drivers are going to remain in their starting positions. These are, of course, a lot of the drivers that you will see competing in some of the top championships around the globe. I mean, just looking at that top 10 is eye-watering, mouth-watering as well alike. And Kieran Prendergast, who, like we said, representing the United Kingdom, all the way from Essex, he is in the United Kingdom as well, other side of the UK to me, but came through in the regional qualifiers, finishing second in race 1 and race 2, and also competing in the GT World Challenge Intercontinental Endurance Series this year. A finalist in the JMR Scholarship in the bids for a single-seater real-life drive, and also a competitor, like we said before, SRO Silver Series in 2020. He's been at this a long time, as has Luke Whitehead. Even at the tender age of 20 years old, he is still competing at the highest level. Lots of real-life championships, sim racing championships alike. He could be the man to beat, but Losio and Walsingham stand in front of him as we await for the flag to go green. It certainly does, and it's pedal to the metal, and it's go, 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 go. Great start there for Losio, but equally a decent start for Walshingham. They're going to come through now in towards turn 1 at the 90. Red and blue meet coming out of turn 1, turn 2, and then heading through the S's. They will very soon go. It's a battle between Losio and Walshingham as they now cruise through. Further back, we got Pagano. Whitehead solidifying himself in third place. Further back, Kieran Prendergast as well as Pagano as they now fly up the hill in towards what will be the chicane, into the inner loop and out to the outer loop. You just see them scream through the chicane right now. It's Walshingham who leads the way here. He grabbed the early advantage. Losio relegated to second.
And Walshingham will be absolutely delighted, stealing the lead there. So now he just has to get his head down, focus, not make any mistakes, and go off into the distance. Yeah,
but he's started very brightly, as Walshingham, and he'll be hoping he can stay there. Of course, carries all the weight of the ability that he carries on his shoulders. Obviously, the CV that he has, the championships he has won. He's not alone, though. Luca Losio being one of those two, sat in second. Luke Whitehead also winning numerous titles. Pagano as well, just sat in behind, waiting for his opportunity to strike as they now come through the middle sector. Now, obviously, it gets very technical, heading through the latter stint as well, where you'll meet the chute heading in towards the toe at turn 7. Side by side here, Ethan Faulkner currently in the midst of a scrap in his own right. In fact, it's become a 3-wide scrap and into the barrier. Now, I want to say that that's Yanis Reinders who's just lost out there. It might be Monaco, I'm not quite sure. We'll have to clarify that with you very shortly. But they're all hustling off wide and committing off circuit. Truly unreal.
This is the action we want to see, George. Nice and early on, the gloves are off. They know there's no time to waste and track position is king, and they've got to make up some places.
Yeah, well, Aidan Walshingham now obviously has just come across the line, nestled in the fastest lap as you'd expect, comes in and begins his second lap. Losio down in second place, still giving chase with Luke Whitehead, who has been in this position before. He knows exactly what's at stake. Pagano then further back. Ethan Faulkner, who's got Reinders just in behind him here. Faulkner's incidentally found himself a second in behind as we now watch him under pressure here from Yanis Reinders as they scream uphill now, heading up through towards the tricky right and left. Faulkner committed as Reinders still holds on, and they head through. Unfortunately, I think Reinders might have lost out there. They were a nose ahead. Was Reinders coming across the timing line, but Faulkner doing enough to hold on to P7 as they now dive downhill. And very shortly will make their way through another sequence of tight and twisty corners. This is where the circuit starts to constrict somewhat, so side-by-side action can be a little bit tricky, but still Walshingham consolidating the lead up at the front as we now see and watch Luca Lamonaco trying to chase after Seminara for that 9th place.
Absolutely, and Walshamon was just doing what he needs to do to slowly extend that gap. But I don't think Lucio, it's not over for him yet. I'm sure he'll put some pressure on later on in the race.
No doubt. Of course, there's still plenty of time to go. Remember, 15 minutes each race. We're now coming into we're well within the 12th minute mark. I'm sure you said the final 12 minutes to go here in this race, so plenty of opportunity sit in front of the drivers. Mattia De Campo, who historically has taken part in single-seater racing and has since decided to cut his teeth in GT3, all the way from Tirano, Lombardy in Italy. Also another driver competing in the GT World Challenge Intercontinental GT Challenge Endurance Series this year. And it's also a race winner in the 4 hours of the Nordschleifer event back in April. And if you can win at the Nordschleifer, you can win anywhere.
Absolutely. It's all quite calm at the moment. Aside from that wobble about a lap ago, everyone's quite calm, getting settled into the race nicely. And I'm sure as the race goes on, people will be getting a little bit more feistier.
You would have thought so. Of course, Mattia De Campo, a huge Ferrari fan, so competing here, I'd imagine, is a dream come true. As far as he's concerned, he's trying to close the gap between he and Luca Pagano over that 4th place. And we can actually take you to a replay of the start as well. So here we go. They cleared across the timing line. This is Luke Addison, of course. Now, this driver actually lost out majorly through the initial stages of this race. So they took the 90, and then a tap in the rear sent Addison into a spin. And I must say, I was about to say the other drivers were lucky to get away with that, but they certainly wouldn't. There was a huge collision further back, many stricken drivers off the circuit, but that's what happened to Luke Addison. Huge impact at the start there, Nina.
My goodness, George, what absolute carnage, and that's such a shame for him as well. He has now a lot of work to do to try and make up places in this race.
He certainly does. He's all the way down in 21st. Marco Vella has just overtaken Leon Hopp as well. That's for 19th place. As we now watch Mattia De Campo once again still trying to stretch and chase after Pagano over 4th, and this has put Kieran Prendergast in a bit of a sticky wicket because he's got Ethan Faulkner just sat in behind him waiting for any opportunity that may come his way to challenge at the very front. As we now watch them cruise down across the line once again, there's Alexandra Chiron, who is looking to break into the top 10, and of course that P10 position could mean everything here, Nina, because it's 1 point, and 1 point could be the difference come the end of the championship.
Absolutely. Like I say, after this round, we have 3 more races to go, so 1 point could be everything, George.
Certainly could. So you remember, points mean prizes, and you want to stamp your ticket to going to Ferrari World Yas Island, Abu Dhabi. That's exactly the intention of every single driver taking part in the Ferrari HP Esports Series. As we now right on board here with Ethan Faulkner, who now takes a deep dive down towards this next right-hander out of the S's, and will then cruise through towards the chute and the toe out of turn 7 very shortly. As we now take a look at Ethan Faulkner on the right-hand side, still chasing after Prendergast, actually donning that Ferrari jersey as well alike, so really embracing the Ferrari spirit here and heading down the boot in towards the heel at turn 8. Now this corner coming up slightly more than 90 degrees. In fact, it's quite conveniently high. You need to be very careful and cautious on the brakes and be very wary about what's around you. But I must say, Faulkner doing a fantastic job of managing his race so far.
Absolutely. Total focus as well in his face. Absolute determination. He wants to make up some places, George.
He certainly does. Persevering and hunting down those that are further up. It's Walsingham, though, still out in front. The gap now has gone outwards again, very nearly 0.8 of a second between Walsingham and Lozio up at the front, with Luke Whitehead down in 3rd, and Leonardo Pagano further back then as well. Mattia De Campo trying to come into that, still working to try and close that gap. Prendergast just doing enough to keep Faulkner in behind. As we now take a look at Marvin Bootsin, who heads in towards turn 1, being chased by Grillo, and that's a battle for that 14th place as they now swiftly climb uphill. In fact, Bootsin, I think this is him gambling on Sorosi, about to head up the long straight. Of course, Sorosi currently sat 2 seconds away, so he's not going to have any slipstream, so a great chance here for Marvin Bootsin. Around the outside, does not commit. That was very close between the two, very nearly catching the back of Sorosi, coming out of the inner loop into the outer loop.
Yeah, a bit scruffy there, but I think it's just a bit of a wake-up call to take your time. There's still a way to go in this race. There's no need to make any silly mistakes just there and potentially ruin your race.
This is not the time and not the place. 7 minutes to go as we now ride on board with Luke Whitehead in third. And there is Pagano, very much in touch with the fellow Ferrari 296 GT3's rear spoiler as they look to head down in through this middle sector, soon to be sector 3. And we take a look at Luke Whitehead there on the right-hand side of your screen. Like we said, multiple karting championship winning holder, of course 300 competitive podiums to his name, and former sim tester for Arden, a 5-time AOR champion and a 2-time LFM Pro champion alike. Trying to work his way forward in pursuit of Luca Losio, but I think Pagano is giving him a little bit more to think about. 6 minutes and just under 20 still to go as they now fly through turn 1 at the 90. Luca Losio now outside of a second. Walshingham is basically waltzing away with this right now.
Oh, I like that one, George, and absolutely he is. Over a second ahead now, and this is exactly what he would have wanted. No pressure on this race. All he has to do is worry about himself and not putting a foot wrong.
Yeah, this is more of a waltz performance rather than a tap dance. A fantastic race so far for Aidan Walsingham, who competes in the Intercontinental GT Challenge. Of course, he competed back at Monza as well, fought from 58th to P2 in the 6 hours of Spa-Francorchamps event on August 24th. Like we said, keen guitar player, also topped the hot laps to enter this very championship. So one of the fastest drivers you're going to see in this series, and he's putting it all out on display right now. Just over 1.1 seconds now between he and Losio. He's put another 10th on it as now we watch Alfano under pressure this time as well. It looks like Vela might have got him. Or is that, no, that's Ruswich, I think, in front of him, who Alfano has been trying to push for 16th place, but Ruwich, I do apologise if I get that wrong, currently sat in 16th and holding on to that place, though he is 9 seconds off Grillo in 15th, but Alfano still giving him a few things to think about.
Absolutely. What's your tactic for this stage in the race, George? Just under 5 minutes to go. Are you just going to take a good haul of points, or are you going to max attack?
Well, those that are racing for pride have just simply got to try and maximise everything they can. Again, it's mentality going into the next 2 races. Of course, whilst you might be outside the points here in this, of course, the next mission is to maximise your qualifying place. Because remember, the grid from here makes up our next race. So if you're outside that top 10, your interest is trying to close the gap as Kieran Prendergast comes under convincing pressure. Ethan Faulkner up the inside. Fantastic effort there from Faulkner, who manages to take that P6 away from Kieran Prendergast, who's got to rethink now. He's under pressure still. We've got Reinders further down and Seminara, who might be looking to kick Prendergast out of place a little bit more as well. They're coming up through the S's. They got the long straight to take now, which will take them up towards the inner loop now. So where Prendergast, is he going to hold on to this one? A look up the inside for him. Reinders, Seminara waited to pick his spot as well. But Ethan Faulkner, a fantastic overtake when he needed it most, of course. An extra bounty of points going his way for P6, and if he stays there, he will rack up 8.
Absolutely lovely overtake from Faulkner, and that's exactly what he needed to do. He needed to get that done because there's a difference of points there. So now he just needs to push on and maintain the position. There's not long to go until the end, and I reckon Prendergast is under a bit of pressure now.
Yeah, I think he could be. Obviously, still lots at hand. Prendergast now sat in 7th. Reinders sat in 8th place. And still chasing after Prendergast in a bid to take P7 away from him. Seminara as well. Obviously would not think twice to try and challenge. We're coming into the final 3 minutes very, very shortly. It's Walsingham who still continues to knock at the delta. 1.5 clear of Luca Losio further back. I can tell you that his sector times are blisteringly quick. Just chipping away and taking the odd 10th away out of Sector 1 and Sector 2. And he was approximately just over a 10th quicker in Sector 3 than Losio down in 2nd as well, and still holds on to that fastest lap. Yanis Reinders once more on the back of Kieran Prendergast as they come out of turn 1. Turn 2 to come as well. Just running off wide as well with Seminara, but it hasn't perturbed him too much, and knows that his fight will have to wait because he's going to allow Yanis Reinders to try and cruise up onto the back of Kieran Prendergast, and Prendergast, who's already lost out after Faulkner took him on heading through the 90 in our previous lap, and they're going to bunch up wheel to wheel now. Very nearly being pushed onto the grass. Goodness me. Yanis Reinders being forced off onto the off track. Kieran Prendergast gave him an almighty squeeze there.
That could have been a lot worse than it actually turned out to be. Good thing that off track was there. Now he just needs to get his head down and refocus.
Yeah, he's going to have to. That's going to hurt, obviously, because it's actually cost Rangers quite a lot. Obviously, it has allowed Seminara to go on through. Seminara was right to be cautious heading up out of the S's and just waited for his moment to then close the gap. So now can wait patiently. Rangers hasn't lost out too much, only the one place to Seminara, but I'm sure he'd be ruining the day, and I do wonder whether the stewards are going to take a closer look at that one. There did seem to be a lack of pace, and obviously as soon as he got onto the grass, his braking would have been compromised heading into the inner loop. But nevertheless, a minute and 20 or so to go. It's Walshingham, who's now nearly clear by 2 seconds, but look at Luke Whitehead turning on the style against Luca Losio. As they head down through towards turn 1, they'll begin yet another lap, and I'd fathom this being the final lap. Whitehead could be on the cusp of getting P2 here as well, Nina.
Absolutely, and he kind of needs to do this. He needs to try and get this position done because it will just help him in race 2. Then again, he'll start second. If he doesn't, third place is still a really good, haul of points for him. But I reckon he wants that P2, George.
Well, Luke Whitehead looking to scrap away with one Luca Losio. A battle for P2 will ensue. They fly up the hill at the back straight, opening up the door. He's going to commit around the outside as Luke Whitehead, but goes onto the grass. Goodness me, Losio doing enough to hang on. Whitehead tried it the long way around. Pagano might now be the salt in the wound for Luke Whitehead, who does still hang on to third place. But what has that done to the tyres? What's it done to the grip? He's got to reset. He can't afford to lose a podium here on this final lap.
Absolutely. We've seen quite a few cars do that, especially in the APAC region earlier today as well. It seems like going around the outside there just doesn't really work out for you.
No, it certainly does not. A challenge, it has to be said, but Walshingham has met that challenge. He is clear by 3 seconds now, with Luca Losio more concerned about Luke Whitehead in behind, but Whitehead himself now a whole second off Luca Losio in second place. But no one is going to catch Aidan Walshingham, who is still clear up at the front, racing in the GT World Challenge, Intercontinental GT Challenge. Racer at Monza in September. Like we said, he has a habit of fighting back from positions of obscurity. We see him there in the rig, getting set around the final bend, and he will come across the line. It's victory for Aidan Walshingham in the opening race here of the Ferrari HP Esports Series European Regions. A great way to start. Walshingham waltzes to the top step with Losio in second place and Luke Whitehead holding on to third.
He certainly went dancing there, didn't he, George? He made that look so easy. And in the camera there, calm as you like, exactly the start he would have wanted.
Well, I tell you one thing, that is the way to start. The question is, can Walshingham do exactly what we've seen already from 3 other drivers and etch his name into Triple Crown stardom here at Watkins Glen? What a way to start his run of races. Obviously, we've still got plenty more to come. 2 more to bring you, folks. Remember, 15-minute action for each of them again as well. But credit to Aidan Walshingham. I mean, that's just superb, Nina. I mean, he needed to do that. I mean, what I will suggest as well is that Luke Whitehead is probably kicking himself alike. Maybe committed a little bit too late heading into the chicane when battling for P2.
Like I say, we've saw a lot of cars do that, especially in the APAC region. I think you've got to make the move a little bit earlier on the straight, because when you do it too late, you just run off across that grass. But it's important for him not to get disheartened. We have a whole other race to do, 2 other races to do, and he finished in third place. It's not bad. He managed to hold on.
Yeah, he certainly did, but Pagano was licking his lips. He had every chance of perhaps taking it away from him, but obviously Whitehead coming out on top in that exchange. But Luca Losio, again, I think he was quite happy just to stay in P2. 18 points goes his way. It's not a bad way to start, Nina.
Absolutely not. And you know what? There's race 2. He might even try and get the lead at the start. So I think he's quite happy. Take those points. Thank you very much. And we go again in race 2.
Yeah, that's exactly the plan. Remember, points are dished out for the top 10, everybody. 1 point going to Alexandra Chiron as well at the very end of that race. Remember, the grid from that last race deciding race 2. So sit tight. It's going to be a fierce one. No doubt we will be seeing those top 3 again duking it out over the race win this time. I don't think for some reason Walshingham is going to have his own way this time. I get the feeling that there's going to be a few drivers, baying for blood, maybe some looking for vengeance. And obviously, this is what you get when it comes to sim racing. A lot of drivers love to commit. Obviously, you haven't got the frailties of real life racing but at the same time, you have got to throw caution to the wind as well where it comes to sim racing as well alike if you want to succeed. And that's exactly what the likes of Walshingham are able to do. That's exactly what the likes of Luke Whitehead are able to do. Not to mention Luca Lozio, who's got an astounding CV as well. It's amazing to think that at the tender age of 18, Luca Lozio can go on to usher out performances like that.
Absolutely, and keep his head and stay so calm. I'm making my predictions now, George, and I reckon Walshingham's going to go 3 for 3.
Wow. Well, I tell you, he's got every chance. And like I say, talented musician. He'll probably play us a ballad should he achieve that as well.
I hope so. That would be great in his post-race interview.
It would be fabulous. Let's take you through the points and the current standings and how they sit. Aidan Walsingham at the top of the shop. 25 points goes his way. Luca Lozio after finishing second on 18 points. Luke Whitehead with 15. It could have been so easily 12 had Leonardo Pagano managed to jump in, but Pagano coming home with 12 points in fourth. Mattia De Campo starting strongly, 10 points with Ethan Faulkner with 8 points in P6. Kieran Prendergast down in 7th on 6, with Simone Seminara on 4 points down in 8th place. We can, of course, take you through to 9 and down. Yanis Reinders on 2 points. Alexandra Chiron finishing in 10th place and picking up that solitary point. Simone Eze as well. I'd expect to see a little bit more from him in the near future. No points to him so far, as does Leon Hope, Valentin Barriere, as well as Khan Bekiroglu and Kevin Taddy, as well as Samir Joe, Abi Nakali. Some plenty of names there that you generally consider to be top-end performers. No doubt we will see them back to the very front as well in the near future. Of course, alluding back to Sammy Joe, of course, P1 at a race at Bathurst earlier on this year, as well as winning at Bathurst back in May as well, and is a World Rally Champion. So we've got drivers that even come in from the world of rallying, Nina, coming into circuit racing in GT3. Big reminder as well to those of you at home tuning in, you can, of course, if you're not competing here in these regional finals, you might have a chance to getting to Abu Dhabi, of course, to Ferrari World, Yas Island Abu Dhabi, I should say, for the Thrustmaster Community Cup Hot Lap Challenge. You can register now at esportseries.ferrari.com. Register your fastest laps. If your time is faster by the time that this finishes in October, you could be going to Ferrari World, Yas Island Abu Dhabi and competing for this very championship. But remember, we do of course have weekly hot lap challenges underway, and those standalone weekly hot lap challenges, the hot lap of the week will receive a Thrustmaster Ferrari 250 GTO wheel add-on, so you gain at least a prize for something else as well, for just taking part as well. But yeah, we just saw and caught pictures of the view at Watkins Glen. Such a circuit built on tradition as well, Nina. Has got a lot of history. We, of course, alluded to it back in the Asian Pacific show that we had earlier on. But at the same time, it does pack a punch. It all the way back in the early 50s where it was unveiled, and very much is the heart of its village as such, and attracts a huge audience year on year and still hosts some of the very best races in the world.
Absolutely. I mean, even the famous uphill climb into the S's, that is a very, very famous part of the track, and it requires careful throttle control and careful precision. The track is amazing, and it boasts such fast speeds. I'm excited to see what race 2 holds for us.
It's going to be a thrill ride, absolutely. The S's are absolutely sensational. IndyCar has been running its very own Grand Prix at the Glen now ever since 1979, right through to 2017. So we've had frequent action as far as single-seaters are concerned, but sports cars are definitely where it's at as far as this circuit's concerned. Very recently, we, of course, had GT World Challenge America sporadically as well, all the way back from 92. Back up to 2022, incidentally. But obviously NASCAR, the pride of Watkins Glen, as is IMSA's very own 6 hours of Watkins Glen as well alike. So we will be seeing some more action as well here in the Ferrari HP Esports Series very soon. The big question is, will we see Aidan Walsingham back on top again, or will it be somebody else? I must say, Luke Whitehead is going to be coming back strongly. The one thing I will say about Whitehead, whilst obviously he had that moment, obviously with Luca Lozio heading up through towards the chicane at the top of the hill, I can see him coming back here and seeking redemption. I mean, his start was fairly strong. He kept it. Pagano was a threat, but I wouldn't say necessarily he was as quick or as punchy as what Whitehead was.
I think the benefit that Whitehead has is that nobody behind him, like you say, is as punchy, is as feisty. So he kind of has that cushion there. So right now, all he needs to focus on are the guys in front of him, really. Don't off the guys behind, because the start, someone could get you if you're caught napping. However, really focus on the top 2 in front of you, and I reckon he could at least make up one position.
He absolutely could. I mean, I would not count him out by any means at all. Quite a few names, of course, that are filtering down in the bottom 10. Obviously, we saw some points being taken on by the likes of Chiron as well, who is, of course, another driver we ought to keep our eyes peeled. Was very successful in the regional qualifiers to get to the regional finals. So, you know, we'll give him time, see whether he can get into this. It's been a common trend, whilst obviously some drivers are capable of taking big wins in the regional qualifiers to get here to the regional finals. Just because you've won in the regional qualifiers doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win here.
Absolutely. And this is what I'm saying. This is a huge accolade. 3-time race winner in our APAC region. Russell Reyes said this is the top. Winning this would be his best ever accolade. It's a huge deal for these drivers, and they're fighting amongst the best. That's the issue. So now you can really compare your skills. What he needs to do now, Chiron, keep his head down, reset, new race, treat it like a new race, and make up as many positions as possible as quickly as you can.
Yeah, absolutely right. Obviously needs to get off to a perfect start. We did see the 4 drivers up at the top, obviously careering away with their race at hand. And then later on, it was just Aiden Walshingham on his own by 3 seconds. And that's a trend that we have seen as well, even in iRacing, looking back as well, Nina, because we saw even from the likes of Will Chadwick racing around Imola, he was able to build those huge gaps and just take the race away.
It sends such a message to the rest of the grid. It just says, come and get me if you can. It's amazing. I mean, if you can do it, why not? The biggest gap as possible.
Yeah, obviously Walshingham, hot lapper in terms of qualifying, and also able to convert that into race trim form as well. And if he can continue this, he will join that exclusive club that, of course, have gone 3 from 3 at the very start of this Ferrari HP Esports season. But, you know, as we take a look at the grid, as they look to get started once more, Aiden Walshingham will be sitting right at the front, but Luca Lozio will be alongside him. It took a while for Walshingham, though. I mean, the first half of the race, they were still in tow. Lozio eventually forfeiting, though, due to the battle with Whitehead towards the end of the race. Leonardo Pagano will be looking for a decent start. Mattia De Campo definitely would not rule him out, who was the race winner in the 4 hours of the Nordschleifer event back in April. Give him an opportunity, that's for sure, and then he will strike. Ethan Faulkner, who I must say equally was absolutely fantastic. That overtake on Kieran Prendergast heading down into turn 1 was a statement of intent, and I'm sure we'll see a lot more of it as well. And the kind of moves you would come to expect from a successful driver that competes in, you know, the realms of karting and things of that nature. You know, he has that raw ability. He can throw it up the inside. And, you know, if you've got that in your locker, I mean, why not use it at the end of the day? I mean, we talk about him. He's competed in various races, various championships. Of course, competed in the Toga Motorsport GT3 World Tour and was P3 in the championship with the Ferrari 296, so he knows this car very well. Finished P2 at Spa and Brands Hatch and Nürburgring, and then later winning at Donington Park in the British GT Championships in QRT back in December last year as well alike. So, you know, one to watch, I would say, is Ethan Faulkner, and could yet turn on the style here, Nina.
Absolutely. He's got the skills in his locker, and that quite forceful move he made, it really paid off. He's now starting a place higher, and let's see if he can make up any more moves today.
Yeah, Ethan Faulkner, of course, hailing from Belfast in Northern Ireland. The cars, though, stretching now towards the line to get us underway here in the Ferrari HP Esports Series Race 2 here at Watkins Glen, and it's pedal to the metal, and it's go, 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 and immediately Walshingham and Lozio screaming in towards turn 1. I must say, that was more of a formality, but not a formality for those sat in P3, as we see Whitehead, Pagano, Mattia De Campo all going at it as they now head through the S's and then up towards the back straight. Walshingham, Lozio, Whitehead as well as Pagano as they now stretch things up the hill now. There we see the picturesque drone shots as the 296s fly up through towards the chicane at the top of the straight. Still at the front end, though, I believe it is Aiden Walshingham who's holding on. Further back, Lozio in second place. Luke Whitehead, Pagano as well further back. Walshingham still consolidating that lead. Pagano and Whitehead still going at it as they now come out of the bend south through towards the tricky second sector. What a moment here, Nina, and more moments to come.
Goodness gracious me, George, that was millimetre perfect stuff. Pagano had nerves of steel to stick with Whitehead throughout that whole section. I mean, Walshingham had the dream start, literally perfect launch, great second phase, so hopefully he can just repeat what he just done. I think Lozio needs to get after him, though. He shouldn't waste time.
No, not at all. Mattia De Campo also at the mercy here of Ethan Faulkner as they now head through this next right. It's Walshingham who still leads. Lozio is solidified himself in second. Whitehead down in third with Pagano chasing him. We are as we were at the end of race 1. Matti De Campo and Faulkner still going at him. It looks like Ethan Faulkner might have got his number, and Seminara they're battling out with Reinders as well further back. So already the moves have started to come into play as we come in towards the final corners here on the opening lap. It's still Walshingham who's clear up at the top. Locio, who's now trying to chase him down, however. 0.6 of a second the difference. Whitehead, Pagano, Faulkner, fastest lap of the race going to Walshingham as we now head in towards the 90 at turn 1. And it's a 147.876, very wide there from Yannis Reinders. That could put him very much at risk here from Alexander Chiron, who is in 9th place, as well as further back we have Bootsin, Marvin Bootsin, sat in 10th, who will be taking home a point should he stay like this. Kieran Prendergast sat just outside the top 10, which is a position he is not so used to, as Johannes Reinders now looks like he's on the attack, looking further back. I think that's in fact a blue car. Yes, that is Reinders trying to close up to the back of what looked to be Seminara over that 7th place. There's Marvin Bootsin, the German, in 10th, with a slender gap between he and Prendergast further back, who's also got Bodsignore down in 12th place. But Walshingham still out in front and remains that way since the start of the race, and remains like that since the last race.
Yes, he's putting in a statement as well, already putting in some quick laps. Prendergast unfortunately lost some places at the beginning. It's important for him not to get disheartened and not count himself out of battles here. He should keep his head down and try and make up as many places as he can. Yeah,
he does need to. Can't afford to get, should we say, upended by the occasion. Of course, it's very easy to do. But as we now watch them head through this middle sector, very soon into Sector 3 as well. Coming out into the 3rd sector, in fact, as they venture in the final few corners on this lap. 11 minutes and 30 of the realm to go. There's Yannis Reinders, sat in 8th place, chasing after Seminara as we now head back to the top. Aidan Walshingham still leads, but Luca Lozio just having a look out of the aero, just firing that warning shot. Luke Whitehead has taken the fastest lap, but has 1.2 seconds to find on the top 2, who are still careering up the road as they now head towards the S's. Pagano still keeping Whitehead honest, though, in P3. Very much a similar fight to what we saw in our last race.
Exactly, it's like a carbon copy, isn't it? I mean, Luke Whitehead, if he puts in some faster times, he should be able to get up to the back of Locio.
Yep, but look at this. Hannes Reinders now trying to move on Seminara, and these two have been going at it. Of course, we saw them nose to tail in our previous lap, but now they're going to run side by side. Contact! Oh, huge contact. Seminara, as well as Reinders, both spiralling out and off at the chicane, coming through the inner loop. The outer loop came, but they both spun before they even reached that apex, and then met the steel barriers at the far end of the track. And I think he might have just lost the rear again, heading out of turn 5. That is not ideal at all. Seminara having a day to forget at the moment. Certainly it has not been an easy one for him, but they've just forfeited their places, and that's going to invite Alexander Chiron as well as Marvin Bootsin, and Kieran Prendergast has now moved up to 9th. Bodsignore now up to 10th.
Absolutely. Prendergast will say, thank you very much. I've just gained 2 places without having to do anything, and now I can crack on. But this is what I mean, George, by these costly mistakes, and now it's completely ruined their races.
Yeah, it has, and obviously we've got to wonder what the damage has done in terms of tyres and everything else and everything mechanically. We have, of course, seen retirements in the past as we now take a look as the drivers now head down the long straight. It's always fascinating to see the POVs as now they head down in towards the 90 at turn 1. 3 laps concluded. Walshingham still at the top with Locio trying to close down desperately. Whitehead now beyond the second, 1.1 seconds now behind the front 2 with Pagano sat down in 4th. It's also starting to lose tread here on Whitehead, which is less than ideal as far as he's concerned. Despite Pagano setting a faster first sector on the last lap, it's what Whitehead did in the remainder of the lap that really gained him the time. As we now run on board here with Marvin Bootsin, who's being challenged now by Prendergast. Bootsin doing enough to hold on. And, will now make his way through the next right-hander out of turn 5 and hold on to P8 with Prendergast waiting in the wings. But he's bringing along Bonsignore as they head in towards the left-hander, coming out of the chute at turn 6 and then in towards the toe at turn 7. They are in the middle sector proper. Very soon they'll reach sector 3 and bring a close to this lap. Up at the top though, Walshingham still, though, the gap fairly minute, I would say. 3.5 tenths of the round between he and Luca Lozio. But clearly something's funny on the left-hand side there, Nina.
He looks as calm as you like. You wouldn't think he's in a race, would you? Who do they talk to, George, when they're talking away?
Well, you've got to think, I mean, sim racing now has advanced so much. I mean, obviously it's a common statement to suggest that they do have engineers in their ears just giving them information as to who's behind, who's closest, who's doing what. Of course, you don't necessarily go into the discussions around strategy, especially in a 15-minute sprint race. But naturally, it's always useful to know as to who's performing, who isn't, you know, where a driver's positioned in terms of the top 10, where the points are stacked. You know, that's useful information for certain drivers to know. So if they have to, they can push that little bit harder. Or the engineer might say, listen, just hold it here for now. This is enough at this stage. And these are all discussions that these drivers will have as we now watch Walsingham and Lozio heading up through towards the long back straight out of the S's once more. Lozio, who was forced to renege behind Walsingham in our last race, in fact was 3 seconds behind coming into the final 7 minutes. So this time Lozio in a far more advanced position than he was in our last race, because as opposed to being 3 seconds away from Walsingham, he's only just over 3 tenths away. So still in proximity to take the win in this fight.
Exactly, he's cranked it up a notch, hasn't it? And Walsingham hasn't had an easy race so far. He's had to look in his mirrors for practically the whole thing. So he's keeping him very honest. What do you reckon? Do you reckon Lozio can take it?
Well, I definitely think that it's possible. I mean, one driver I'm watching right now is Whitehead, 1.1 seconds behind, but he's clear of Pagano, which will certainly help him, and he's bringing that delta down. It's down to a second as opposed to the 1.1 that it was. So I wouldn't write off Whitehead in this case, Nina.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time before he joins the party, isn't it? And I think Whitehead will be relieved that he didn't have the pressure of looking in his mirrors 24/7. He can just focus on pushing up to the front two.
Yeah, definitely. Boxignore, who we're currently watching in P10, sits in the 1 point paying position, but chasing now Kieran Prendergast, who has had his own fun and games off the back of the last race, where he was pretty much a sitting duck whilst other cars attacked him left, right and centre. Ethan Faulkner was one of those drivers who went on the attack and has done very well in fifth and is within a second as well of Pagano. And as I said earlier, Luke Whitehead on a fast lap. Well, he's just posted a purple lap, fastest lap of the race. That last lap providing a 1:42.640 and is now on a full pursuit of the two cars that sit in front of him here. So watch out, Luke Whitehead is coming.
Absolutely, he's a man on a mission. Just under 6 minutes to go, but he does need to get a move on because he's still a second adrift. So he needs to keep putting in these quali-style laps just to push up on the front two.
Yeah, well, Lozio is still pushing as well in second place and giving Walsingham something to think about. This race could be very easily turned on its head. We're coming into the final 6 minutes, coming into the final 5.5 minutes, I should say. And Walsingham, after concluding 5 laps, still maintains the lead. Maintained the lead in the last race, eventually taking victory. Would love to make it 2, but Lozio is going to make sure he loses that and wants to try and break that status quo as best he can. Whitehead down in third. Like we said, still nursing along with that fastest lap under his belt. But I have to say, Whitehead's pace has been tremendous. He's now broken to within a second, so this is a very timely re-entry to within 1 second territory here for Luke Whitehead. So it's now very soon going to become, I think, a 3-car battle for the race win here in race 2 at Watkins Glen.
Absolutely, and Lozio will know Whitehead's coming as well, so he's going to be even more impatient to try and get this move done.
He's going to need to. Lozio can't wait around much longer. Knows that Whitehead is coming, but Walsingham sits in between he and victory. There is Whitehead in the right-hand side. You can just see there, utilising the wheel. Very commonplace for him to pursue results like this. He can come out of nowhere. He's got the pace, the raw talent and ability to take this 296 to the top, but first and foremost needs to drop the front two. It's all about points. Remember, this is a fragile state in this championship as they now climb the hill out of the S's and through towards the back straight. They've got inner loop to come very shortly. This is where Whitehead can gain a lot of time if he can commit to this apex. He certainly does. You can just see there the pace that he is enduring in this GT3 car and hunting down every apex, hitting it as well. He is the fastest man out on track, and for good reason.
Absolutely, but he's still just over a second behind, George. He's not making up enough time quick enough. No,
I don't think so. The front two is still doing a great job of keeping him at bay. But we'll see if the gap will change heading out of Sector 2. You can just see the commitment and the focus dawned on the face of Luke Whitehead. Leonardo Pagano down in 4th is now beyond 3 seconds behind Luke Whitehead right now. Of course, it wouldn't hurt Whitehead if Locio was to start pressurising Walsingham up at the front. But they now come through out of the middle sector very soon in towards Sector 3 and out of the final 2 corners that are sat out on this track. Turn 10 to come. As they now come in towards turn 11 as well. Running slightly wide, Lodio, the rear stepping out, and that just goes to show the level of commitment, Nina.
Yes, too right. I think Whitehead, like you say, would like if they start squabbling. It would only help him, make them lose time and bring him right to the party.
Yeah, straight into the 90 they will go. 2 minutes and 50. They'll have enough for 2 more laps here at Watkins Glen. Walsingham carrying the front 2 onwards. But Whitehead is not too far behind, but he has broken to outside of a second once more. He needs there to be on track, fighting activity in order to close the gap. Walsingham, though, still in control. And Locio still working to get closer. I get the feeling, I think Locio's waiting until the final lap here, Nina.
Do you think? I don't know. I don't think he's got an answer for Walsingham, I'll be honest. He stayed with him the whole race, so it's good. He's kept up with the pace, but I don't think he's got an answer to actually make the overtake done.
Well, it's a very tricky man to catch, is Aidan Walsingham. He's proven that already off the back of that last race, but Locio is in a position that he wasn't afforded in that previous race, where he is in proximity to challenge. He will require absolutely everything on the final lap to take down the 296 that sits in front of him. Just look at Pagano further back, who's also going hard at work. Remember, he was 3 seconds beyond Luke Whitehead not too long ago. Well, he's only 2.1 now. He's been really hustling further back. His last lap was a 1:42.960, which was only just over 2/10 slower than Luke Whitehead. Luke Whitehead, though, incidentally, has broken to back within a second. So you never know. This could be the lap. And we've got one final one to do it in as well, Nina.
Oh, it's all to play for, isn't it, George? I still think Walshingham's got it covered.
Well, you never know. Let's wait and see, folks. This last lap could be poetic. Remember, still one more race to encounter after this one. Race 2, though, about to come to an end as the timer ticks to within very nearly the final minutes of action. And they come out of turn 1 at the 90 and now stretch through towards the S's. Walshingham bidding to become a back-to-back winner here at Watkins Glen and to kick-start his first 2 races here in the Ferrari HP Esports Series in perfect style. But Locio is still giving chase as we watch Mattia De Campo chasing after Ethan Faulkner. The 2 yellow 296s now climbing up the hill. They will go side by side. Locio not going side by side though with our leader Walshingham, as now De Campo flies through in towards the next right and left, and they're going to bow out as well. Almost a carbon copy as what we saw from Seminara and Reinders not too long ago. But up the inside, Mattia De Campo will head through and take that place anyway. Of course, respectful from both drivers. Of course, Ethan Faulkner obviously sat in P6, wasn't happy to consolidate that place given the fact that he would have gained it through contact.
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, what have I said, George, about trying to go around the outside? It just causes absolute carnage. These cars need to try and make the overtake on the inside.
Yeah, absolutely. It's tricky, especially when you meet the apexes at that inner loop where it's so fast-paced, high level of commitment at such high speeds. But nonetheless, full level of commitment from Walshingham is what's brought him to the dance here. His 1 lap pace took him to the front, ready to take part in race 1. He brought it home in front as well at the end of race 1, and now round in the final corner at turn 11, Aidan Walshingham with the timer at 0 will come across the line, take the checkered flag. Back-to-back victories. A Walsh for Walshingham. He wins again with Locio down in second, and 3rd place for Luke Whitehead. Once again, the same top 3 as we saw in our previous race. Can anyone stop Aidan Walshingham?
Another masterclass from him, George. Beautiful race, controlled it the whole time. Even though he was put pressure on, he controlled the whole race.
He has been absolutely sensational. What a performance from one Aidan Walshingham. The man from Somerset is back again, harnessing the power of that Ferrari 296 GT3 and taking another victory. That's 50 points now he has in the championship, Nina, and he would love to make it 75, wouldn't he, come the end of race 3?
I have a sneaky feeling he will. Unless Locio, to be fair, Locio made good progress in that race. First race, he was over 3 seconds adrift at the end. This race, he was right behind him, so I wouldn't write him off.
Well, when we consider as well the level of grids here, I mean, do we make Aiden Walsingham all of a sudden, should he get, through this phase of the regional finals through towards the grand final on the 5th of December, is he automatically the favourite, just considering the power that's in this grid?
No, I don't think so. I think anyone that gets through could have it, It just depends on the day, genuinely.
Well, I know from the live chat, they've got a fan favourite here. It's Addison, of course. Addison, very much a fan favourite in all of this. Moved up, I think, to P11 or 12. In fact, I'm looking on my screens here. According to our data here, ready for the start of the next race. Obviously, it will be confirmed shortly. Luke Addison did make a bountiful of places, so credit to him after the incident he had in our first race to come back like he did. I mean, that's what you've got to do, isn't it, Nina? I mean, if you have hardships, say, for example, in race 1, like Addison did, having that huge crash at the very start of race 1, to come back and claw your way up the field, to essentially put yourself in a good, decent position ahead of race 3, I mean, that's the mission, isn't it? Make your job as easy as possible.
Absolutely. You just got to try and not let that get to you. If you have a bit of wobble, put it to the side, refocus. And like I say, we may be coming up to the last race of today, but there are 3 more races to go still. So it's not all over.
No, it's not. And of course, Addison, Luke Addison, that is, all the way from Cape Town in South Africa. Of course, also racing in the GT World Challenge Esports Intercontinental GT Challenge Endurance Series as well alike, but actually visited Ferrari World back in 2017. So he was scoping it out all of 7 years ago as well. So that was when he was visiting the Gulf 12 Hour. So who knows? Maybe he'll have a revisit there off the back of a decent final 4 races it would be if we factor in the next series of rounds as well alike. But, race 3 again, are we going to see the same top 3 again, Nina, do you think, or will we see a twist?
I think Locio needs to be careful for Whitehead. I think Whitehead will take the gloves off completely in this 3rd and final race. He'll be keen to make up as many positions as possible. I reckon Walsham is going to just go off and do his little waltz and he'll win the race.
Certainly not a tap dance. That's to be sure.
No.
It's a waltz from Aiden Walsingham.
Very classy.
But yeah, he's class, obviously. But yeah, Luke Whitehead. I mean, we speak about incredible performances and brilliance as well. When we look at, we'll take a look at the championship standings first and foremost. I mean, this pretty much rubber stamps Aiden Walsingham right now. 50 points to our current championship leader. Luca Locio in 2nd on 36. Luke Whitehead on 30 points in 3rd place. Leonardo Pagano in 4th on 24. Matty De Campo on 20. Ethan Faulkner 16. Kieran Prendergast on 10. And then Alexander Chiron on 7 points in 8th place. Who actually managed to gain a couple of places off the back of the big incident we saw at the very start as well, that Simone Seminara and Janice Reindeers were responsible for. 4 points, though, going to Seminara. He currently sits in 9th. Reindeers on 2 points, joined with Bonsignore, who's also on 2 points in 11th. Marvin Bootsin on 1 point. And then we have a string of 0-point scores so far. Simone Ezi, as well as Leon Hopp, as well as Valentin Barriere and Kan Bikaroglu, who sits in 16th as well alike for the Turk. But there we have it. That's our current championship standings. We will, of course, have one final race to bring you, another 15-minute encounter around Watkins Glen, which is going to be one heck of a thrill ride. We saw plenty of action heading up the bank straight in towards the inner loop, where it seems to be the hot spot, Nina, for everything considering overtakes, or anything concerning overtakes.
Yeah, it seems to be the hotspot for incidents, and not just in this region, in the APAC region earlier today as well. I think drivers need to learn from other drivers' mistakes and maybe not make the move on the outside, maybe go for the move on the inside slightly earlier. But I think it's important to try and get that inside line, because going on the outside is proving costly.
But it makes turn 1 and turn 2 all the more imperative, does it not, then, as well? Because obviously you need to make sure you have good exits out of those to then give you the perfect run up the hill.
Absolutely. Turn 1 is so important because you want that power down the straight when you get there as well. So let's see what the race holds.
Yeah, we'll certainly have to wait and see. Plenty of other names, though, to keep our eyes peeled on. I mean, we've got many others with such grand CVs. I mean, it was a shame to see, obviously, Simone Seminara in the wrong end of that incident. Of course, has done very well in his own spate of runs in GT World Challenge, Intercontinental GT Challenge. Of course, P3 at Red Bull Ring in the 3-hour event, and then P4 in the Spa 24-hour as well. A driver that obviously can pull his socks up in, I suppose, even in the hairiest of situations, and he's going to need to do that again this time. You've just got to put that incident at the back of your mind now, right, Nina?
Absolutely, you've got to dig deep, and this is what it's all about. This is what the champion will be. He will have to dig deep, reset, and let's go again.
Absolutely right. And Yannis Reinders will have to do the same as well. And like we said, only racing since 2022. So the fact he's here competing and he qualified it immensely strongly is quite the statement. But we'll very soon be back racing in the international layout. We alluded back as well to the likes of Bonsignore. Quite a few drivers fighting for those bottom top 10 positions. Incidentally, Stefano Bonsignore, whilst he may not be racing in, say, for example, your GT World Challenge events or those kinds of events, does regularly compete in league racing and regularly drives the Ferrari 296 GT3. So it's amazing how you have the carry-off. You've got some drivers who perhaps are at the top of their game, competing at the highest level of esports and sim racing. Obviously, you're at the highest level if you're here competing in the Ferrari HP Esports series. But when you consider Bonsignore, he's come here in the thick of the action just off the mere back of the fact that he races using the Ferrari 296 GT3 all the time, and obviously he probably knows the car inside out.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it comes down to if you're able to get your practice in. I genuinely think practice makes perfect. If you're able to put those hours in behind the scene, know the track like the back of your hand, then you're able to excel. So that's what it comes down to.
It certainly does. We've got other drivers as well who represent even Ferrari customer teams as well, including the likes of Marvin Bootsin, who we've been speaking about from time to time, representing Mertel Motorsport Ferrari, who of course have Ferraris that they race in real-life championships as well, including one I commentate on, which is the GT Cup Open Europe Championship. They, of course, running their own string of esports series talent, Marvin Bootsin being one of them, who actually went on to become a driver in the World Endurance GT Championship, so has done some really great things there too. And he's not alone, because Linus Ruswich as well, also representing Mertel Motorsport, is the German from the North Rhine-Westphalia, another one who is going to be up there and fighting, I'm sure, in that top 10, looking for those points. But great to see even those drivers coming into the thick of the action, and Mertel Motorsport do a fantastic job as well of supporting Ferrari and drivers that are looking to get into racing, and obviously that has not changed even in the esports world as well. But we have got driving very soon to get underway. Race 3 is still to come. Let us know in the live chats as to who you're backing as well, folks. Very keen to find out as to who you are supporting. A lot of people say Marley Diesel, for example, there in the YouTube chat, talking about Aidan Walshingham for the Triple Crown. I mean, I, for one, I don't think he's going to be out of the picture for that, to be fair, Nina.
Absolutely not. He's the favourite, surely. He's won the first two.
Has to be.
Yeah, it would be such a shame if he would be the first person to break the streak, I mean, minus Kobe Deeth, to break the streak of going 3 for 3.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just the fact that he, of course, topped the hot laps to come into this and qualify. Remember, the qualification to get into the Ferrari HP Esports Series, it's not just through the regional qualifiers. We did, of course, have a huge number of drivers qualifying through the hot lap phase to qualify for this event. And Aidan Walshingham was fastest in his group to get qualification into this. So applying those same traits to then go fastest in qualifying and then to take back-to-back race wins from the 27-year-old from Somerset. But here's the starting grid here ahead of our next race, race 3. Aidan Walshingham starting on the front row along with Luca Lozio. Luke Whitehead further back then in 6th as well. Leonardo Pagano will be joining him. Mattia De Campo, another one to watch as well, with Ethan Faulkner, who has also been very impressive from what we've seen today as well. Faulkner starting on the near side of our camera, far side for Mattia De Campo. Further back then, Alexandra Chiron and Kieran Prendergast, who I think can count himself a little bit fortunate as well that he managed to profit off the back of the major incident that happened. Remember, he was sat in P11 after losing a few places and managed to recoup a scoring position in the top 10. We then have Stefano Bonsignore alongside him in 9th, then Marvin Bootsin, who we allude, representing Mertel Motorsport Ferrari in prior competitions, and now back in the 296 as well for a bid to qualify for our grand final at Yas Island, Abu Dhabi at Ferrari World. Luke Addison, who starts P11, so he managed to fight from all the way back to the P11 places. So if he can do that, then Nina, he can surely do better and maybe score some big points here in the final race.
Absolutely, you can definitely go one better and at least make up, get into the mid section of the points table at least.
Yeah, it'd be huge for him. Luca Lamonaco starting P12, Leon Hopp in 13th, Jacopo Grillo starting in 14th with Gable Sarosi in 15th, Alessandro Alfano starting in 16th, Linus Ruswich down in 17th, also representing Myrtel as well in prior championships, Marco Vella down in 18th as well, Daniele Farinelli in 19th, Simone Seminara after that incident with Yanis Reinders, both drivers starting 20th and 21st respectfully, and a tough day at the office in our last race for Sami Joe Abi Nakali. A driver I would not have expected to suffer as much as he has done. 3 times esports WRC MVP and an esports World Rally champion. Not only that, a 2021 Men and Digital GT champion and a 5-time Lebanese karting champion, and he's at the back of the grid for this one. Obviously didn't have the easiest of race 2s, but he'll have another chance to go again as it's at the front. Locio with Walshingham heading to the front, and it's pedal to the metal, and it's go, 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 go. But a great start from Walshingham again, and it's Locio down into second, but he's got challengers because Whitehead coming into this, Pagano as well, as they fly through the 90-degree right-hander at turn 1. They'll fly up through the S's once more. Walshingham still out in front. Locio, though, might choose to go for the move right from the get-go, try and put a stopper in Walshingham's charge to taking 3 wins out of 3 races. They will climb up through towards the chicane once more. You can see the string of cars battling over P3 as they fly through into the inner loop. It's still, though, Walshingham out in front. Locio had no answer, remains in second.
Goodness me, dream start from Walshingham, exactly what he would have wanted, nice and calm, he can get his head down. Locio's right there with him, so I'm sure he's going to put pressure on him. Whitehead managed to hold P3, and Faulkner is now behind him in P4. Pagano's lost his place.
He certainly has. Ethan Faulkner with a blissful start manages to move up to 4th and chases after Luke Whitehead over 3rd place. So Faulkner has been released. The big question, can he jump into the podium places? The front 3 have been on the podium for the last 2 races. They'll all be looking to make it 3, but I can imagine Locio and Whitehead will have their ambitions set on P1. But first and foremost, need to demote Walshingham off the top as they head through the next left once more. It's Walshingham who's still clear by just over 2.5 tenths of a second, with Whitehead currently sat within 3 tenths of those in front as they now clamber through turn 10 and very soon into turn 11. Walshingham certainly showing all the signs of a Triple Crown victory here tonight.
Absolutely, it's on the cards, isn't it, George? We just have to wait and see if he can pull it off. Also, Pendergrass made up some places on that start as well, so he can make his way up.
Yeah, well, I mean, Pendergast P6, he's not out of the question. Already we've seen a few dramas. Luca Monaco has had an upset by the looks of it. He's down in 18th now, has just lost out to Jacopo Grillo, and Yanis Reinders and Seminara still stacked at the very back. Sami Joe, Abi Nakali has actually incidentally lifted himself right off the bottom and up to P18, so he's had a great start in his own right. Still Walshingham clear as they make their way at the top of the hill. There's Alexandra Chiron chasing after Matti De Campo and Kieran Prendergast as they head through the inner loop and the outer loop once more. 12 minutes and 30 still to go, Nina.
Absolutely, and Whitehead is still staying with Locio, so I feel like he's going to get a bit punchy later on in this race. He wants that second place.
He definitely does. He's sick and tired of remaining in 3rd. He's almost had 3rd ripped away from him as well, but Pagano is no longer a threat. He's down in P5 after Faulkner dispatched him. So now this top 4 with instead Faulkner sat in that 4th place is trying to give chase. As we now watch them head through that middle sector. Whitehead in strong command in 3rd, but waiting for his chance to perhaps gain something a little extra. Daniele Farinelli as well moving ahead of Luca Lamonaco, who now drops to 20th spot. Luke Addison obviously starting P11, now down to 13th, just behind Linus Ruswich. Gable Sarosi up to 11th as well. Alessandro Alfano now sat in that 1-point paying position as Locio once more tries to track Walshingham heading through turns 10 and now turn 11. 11 and 30 now remain. Walshingham will cross the line and they'll be on their 3rd lap of action here in race 3.
I'm starting to think Locio will be quite happy with P2. P2 in each race, a nice haul of points. I think he's just pushed up behind Walshingham to say, if you make a mistake, I'm going to profit and I'm going to pounce.
Yeah, well, that's the plan of action. Obviously, maximise your points where you can, but the question is, do you maximise at 18 or do you maximise at 25? I'm surely going to know what Walshingham thinks. He'll want the 25 and make it 75 come the end of play. Locio might choose, though, to execute Walshingham heading through towards the inner part of the loop, heading out of the chicane as we watch Kieran Prendergast hunting down after Pagano. Pagano looked a little bit better coming through the very fast chicane that time. Prendergast trying to hold back Mattia De Campo. Both drivers, incidentally, coming from the F1 sim racing side, both of whom were driving single-seaters before jumping into GT3 car action, but they look very much at home here, has to be said, Nina, in the Ferrari 296.
Yeah, they look really comfortable driving it, don't they? Good exits, nice acceleration. The midfield is actually quite bunched up, George. They realise it's the final race of the day. There's a lot of points to play for. Yeah,
they certainly are. Obviously, big points right through from P1 down towards P10. And as far as Kieran Prendergast is concerned, P6 will garner him 8 points come the end of play. If you finish 5th, you get 10. So obviously, another 2 points wouldn't go amiss as far as Prendergast is concerned. But Pagano outside by 1.2 seconds, nearly 1.3 now. So he is going to be sacrificing slipstream, and Prendergast is within slipstream territory near enough, so might well challenge Pagano for that P5 sooner rather than later. We're within the final 10 minutes. Walsingham forced to go defensive. Now, is that the first sign of vulnerability that we have seen? Because Whitehead as well also gaining. There's Prendergast coming in towards turn 1. Whitehead on the back of Locio, and as they head up through towards the S's, there's still a chance we could see a twist up with the top 3. Walsingham climbing up the hill. There is Locio, and there is Whitehead, just sat right behind him. They're going to storm up the hill this time, and just look at the overspeed here being generated by Luke Whitehead. We haven't seen this at all this evening. Whitehead hasn't really had the chance, but he made contact coming in towards the inner loop. A huge moment, and Ethan Faulkner, ready to pounce in the distance, has pounced. He's taken P3 away from Luke Whitehead.
Goodness gracious me, George. I mean, this is what I mean, going around the outside in that position. Oh, but he had to go for it. He had to try and make the move.
Well, Whitehead had his chance. You can just see he's seething, the frustration on show. You could lip sync if you like, folks at home. I bet you can guess what he's saying. He is not happy, one iota. That is the second time he's come into contact with Locio here tonight at the inner loop, and he's come off second best. And I tell you what, that frustration is very clearly burning bright. But Ethan Faulkner handed an opportunity of a lifetime with a chance of taking a podium here tonight.
Oh, he said, thank you very much, Whitehead. I'll take that. Now all he has to do is maintain that, because I'm sure Whitehead will be chasing after him.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. The only problem Whitehead's got is that he's back with Pagano again. Oh, old friends.
Oh, his best friend.
Yeah, old friends, but bitter enemies as well, as it stands. Pagano obviously would have no harm or no foul in trying to pursue after Luke Whitehead. He wants to obviously move up into 4th. It's a position he's so used to tonight as well. That has been his status quo near enough all night, and might get a chance to clamber for it back even after Ethan Faulkner relegated him earlier on tonight. But just look at Faulkner's pace. I must say, I'm impressed. Locio is 1.4 away from Walsingham. Walsingham pretty much on the cusp of making it a 3 from 3, but Locio could lose a little bit more here, because I must say Faulkner's pace, I would say, is more impressive.
Exactly. All that squabbling has put Locio on the back foot a little bit and has allowed Walsingham to just go off into the distance a little bit.
Yeah, well, Faulkner, I can tell you, in that last lap, 1:43.155, that's 5/10 quicker, over 5/10 quicker than Luca Locio in second. Now, has Locio still got the bottle? Oh, Jacopo Grillo! Grillo, unfortunately, losing it there. Now, who is that alongside him? I can't see the number of the car, but that is surely going to hurt. Oh, it's not. It's Luke Addison. Luke Addison's out once more again. Another incident for Addison. Oh, dearie me. Of course, he suffered in the opening race, and he suffers again here in race 3. That's going to hurt, Nina.
Such a shame. It's almost like no risk, no reward. You've got to try and take these risks to make places up, but it could be really, really costly.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's costly for those two. Luke Addison, unfortunately, coming unstuck. And this time, it was after a battle with Jacopo Grillo from Italy, who came through out of the regional qualifiers with a P5 in race 1, P4 in race 2 at Spa, and also a winner of the 6 Hours of Imola back in April, also in the Ferrari 296 GT3. So Addison is not going to be happy either with that. Obviously, Grillo, we mentioned those successes. Addison has had a fair few of his own, and obviously competing in the GT World Challenge Endurance Intercontinental GT Challenge as well this year. But it's been certainly a poor end to a poor day, and he's in the pits. Another driver that's in the pits as well is Leon Hopp as well, who's also not out on track. So quite a few drivers having their own little struggles here at Watkins Glen. But Ethan Faulkner, who still sat in third, getting very close and up close and personal. I mean, look at Luke Whitehead in behind. Fastest lap in the last race, and he's closing on them like a man possessed here, Nina.
I'm not surprised either. He's a man with a vendetta. He wants to make up his places. But interesting enough, Locio is not doing the chasing this race. He is being chased.
He is certainly. Locio not having things his own way, that's for sure. And Walsingham is. He's 1.7 clear. He's out in front. Let's take a look at what happened to Leon Hopp. So this is why Hopp is in the pits. Oh, that's a huge impact. No question as to why he's out. No doubt there would be some suspension damage after a collision like that into the barrier. And therefore, and look at this as well, Bootsin has got to suffer the fate of a drive-through penalty. So that's heartache there for Marvin Bootsin, further back in 13th place, which is good news for Abby Nakali, who started right at the back. He's in 14th and could yet gain a place off Bootsin as well.
Absolutely, and that will just give him motivation to try and make up a few more places if possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Walsingham now clear now by 1.6. Look at Locio in the blue car being chased down by Faulkner's yellow 296 as they now fly out of turn 11 once again. 4 minutes and 30 of the round to go here in this sprint race. Let's take a look at another replay. This is the actual incident between Addison as well as Grillo on the fly up through towards the chicane at the inner loop. They came side by side. Oh, it's a commonplace, really, Nina. A carbon copy of incidents, really, time on time at that portion of track. And it's very fast-paced. Just not a good idea to commit to that bend like that, is it, really?
Absolutely not. Especially not on the outside, George. My goodness me, you think these drivers would have learned by now? Yeah,
absolutely. We've seen it time and time again. We now watch Faulkner sat in third. Whitehead still nursing with that fastest lap along now. But look at Faulkner's pace. Mattia De Campo, I should say, now chasing after Kieran Prendergast. Of course, the two former single-seater drivers in F1 sim racing now coming back again, this time in GT3 action. Of course, I'd imagine they know each other from the realms of that back in the day. Someone went off into the dirt as well and picked up a little bit of grass as well. Either Faulkner, Locio, could even be Walsingham as well. But Faulkner looking so good right now. Locio 2.1 seconds outside of Walsingham. So Walsingham well and truly clear with 6 laps concluded. 3 minutes and 20 still to go as once again De Campo hovers all over the back of Prendergast as we now watch Faulkner. Look at Whitehead as well all over the back, and they've brought in Pagano as well. Just look, it's a who's who in this battle for second here at the moment, Nina.
It's anyone's race, George, I tell you. It just takes one mistake and someone's going to say, thank you very much, I'll take that.
It's going to be a lottery, I think, come the end of this race. Obviously, I'd imagine the result will be made clearer as soon as they cross the start-finish line for the final time. But in between, we are going to have some compelling action to bring you folks. And I have to tell you, Luke Whitehead is going to be the danger man. Of course, Ethan Faulkner will be well aware that he lost his position in P3 by unfathomable circumstances, making his way through the chicane. But just look at the determination of Faulkner here, but also Luke Whitehead, who has been absolutely sensational in his rise coming out of the S's, and now has one long straight to take to try and reclaim that P3, and he's more than enough onside this time to try and make this move work. Who's later on the brakes? Brilliant there from Luke Whitehead. That is a phenomenal move coming through it towards the inner loop, and he's managed to topple Ethan Faulkner at the very place he lost P3 and also a potential P2 after coming together with Locio earlier on in the race.
That's exactly how you do it, George. You notice he set that move up a little bit earlier this time, so he's managed to get the overtake done in a good, timely manner.
It's redemption of sorts, but as far as Whitehead knows, or as far as he's concerned, there's unfinished business, and that business is unfinished with one Luca Locio. Locio sits still in second place, but still has no slipstream, nothing to protect himself with, and Whitehead will have yet another lap to challenge the drivers there ahead of him. He'll have another chance at Locio should he get close enough. 8/10 away between Whitehead and Locio in the battle for second place, but Whitehead overcommits and gets onto the grass. That's going to cost him, Nina.
Absolutely, and in the meantime, I bet Locio's very relieved for a bit of breathing space. He can just get his head down now and try and keep hold of that second position.
Yeah, certainly will. Whitehead now bellowing down the straight. Now the only issue is he's going to need something out of turn 1 and even turn 2 to even be in a position to challenge heading up the long straight. He sacrificed far too much time coming out of turn 9 in towards turn 10, and he runs out wide again. That just goes to show how much commitment he is putting into this. He is over-egging every corner, but that is only because he has such desires to claim anything higher than a P3.
Definitely. He's got to be careful not to overdrive the car though, George, because he could just put 1 foot wrong and be in the wall.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on. Leonardo Pagano sat there in 5th. Has just been watching all this unfold right in front of him. He's got the best seat in the house here right now. But in this final lap, we've got yellow flags lit up somewhere, but nothing concerning the front 4. As we now watch Walsingham still persevere onwards. 3 seconds clear now. Very much the same as it was in our first race of the evening. You can see Locio just in the distance leading this trio, or leading the 4 of them at the very least anyway, through the middle sector. Once again at the rear, just stepping out for Ethan Faulkner there, which could put him at risk from Pagano as they now head down the next straight in towards the right-hander coming out of the heel. A look down the inside here from Pagano. Did not commit to it that time. That was brave.
I don't blame him for not committing to that, because I don't think it would have worked out well for him, George.
Yeah, well, I've heard of the term risk it for a biscuit, but if you leave your digestive in your coffee for far too long, it breaks off and then you have to try and find it, which would have been the case as far as Pagano's concerned. But what can we say about one Aidan Walsingham? A truly unbelievable performance here. The clock has ticked to 0, and once again, it's Aidan Walsingham who waltzes to the top step. A brilliant triple crown, 3 out of 3. The man from Somerset hails superior once again here on Assetto Corsa Competizione, and here in the Ferrari HP Esports Series. Dominance on display for Aidan Walsingham.
What a masterclass. Absolutely perfect. Didn't put a foot wrong each race. Absolute masterclass. Domination.
Yeah, truly unbelievable. A great display, a grand display from a young man who is still looking to persevere and show himself to be one of the best in the world. I mean, what a performance from him indeed. Aidan Walsingham, could he be the one to beat? That is our 4th driver, incidentally, who's gone out and actually secured a 3 from 3. And our second one on ACC. We could have a blanket here on ACC should this continue. Of course, we do still have the Americas region coming up in the not too distant future. But talk about sending a message, Nina. You know, you can send it by pigeon, you can send it by post, but that one was written very clearly in neon, I would say. Aidan Walsingham, undefeated here tonight.
He did his talking on the track, didn't he? He didn't put a foot wrong all round, really. Absolute domination. And he just sends a message to the rest of the grid saying, hey, come get me.
Yeah, no, a splendid performance from Aidan Walsingham. Luca Locio again forced to remain in second. Luke Whitehead, I want to give him credit because, of course, losing out when he did to that position earlier on, P2 he was fighting for. He came together with Locio. It's not the first time we've seen those two come together at the inner loop. It's happened before, but Luke Whitehead fighting back after losing out to Ethan Faulkner like he did. He had the bit between his teeth. You could see the focus on his face. I mean, that was a determined young man who was looking to try and reclaim what he believed was rightfully his. I mean, only the tender age of 20 years old has achieved so much already in sim racing. The 5-time AOR champion, 2-time LFM Pro champion, and he's shown us why. I mean, I, for one, think he probably got hard done by tonight.
A little bit hard done by, but what a beautiful move he pulled off on Faulkner at the end. Absolute stunning. And you know, we head to Silverstone next, so you don't know what will hope.
Well, I can tell you, folks, that we do have the overall winner with us. Is one Aidan Walsingham. What a performance, sir. All the way from Somerset. I'm proud to say you're only just over the bridge from me. You must be absolutely thrilled with that.
Yeah, it's not a bad outcome. I expected to be challenged pretty hard, and I was. Luca did a fantastic job holding on through the first couple of rounds and just managed to break away from him. Just out of consistency, I suppose. But no, it's been a fantastic outcome. Can't really complain about it at all.
Yeah, you're going to be sending a thank you message to Luke Whitehead for putting the pressure on Luca Locio, allowing you to get through and clear, because that's 2 races now where you've gone 3 seconds clear.
I mean, it's definitely helped out. I don't know if Luca tried something differently with his setup in the last round, because what we saw in the second is he couldn't really get enough speed on the back straight to get around me. He put a lot of pressure on me, but the car just didn't have the top end. So I wonder if he changed something there and it just didn't quite work out. But yeah, obviously, thanks to Luke. He did a fantastic job as well. I know he's not so familiar with the car, but he's done a fantastic job learning it in, what is just a few hours today, pretty much, and putting on the show he has.
Yeah, I mean, I can see in the background as well, Aidan. Obviously, you've got a guitar in the distance. You plucked the strings of success here tonight, as you have done all year long. And, also off the back of the 6 Towers of Spa-Francorchamps event back on August 24th, you came from 58th to P2 in what was a monumental rise. That rise seems to be continuing. You topped the hot laps coming into tonight. Your confidence is sky high, clearly.
Yeah, there's a lot of events that are going our way. I've obviously put in quite a lot of prep and focusing a lot on improving myself. I've taken part in enough events that haven't gone my way and learnt my lessons, but I feel like things are coming together a lot more for me in the last couple of months especially. And I hope it continues, obviously.
Yeah, and what are your thoughts heading to Silverstone next?
A strong track for me. It's a track I really enjoyed driving. I've driven the 296 there before, so familiar territory. Obviously, I hope it goes well. I don't want to go into it too confident without having done any laps in a few months, but it should go well. I expect it so.
Well, you'll be hoping that winning remains familiar territory. I'm sure we'll find out very soon, I'm sure. But fantastic effort. Well done, Aidan. Congratulations. Top of the championship, 75 points. Well done, sir.
Thanks a lot, George. Cheers.
Thank you. That's Aidan Walshingham, everybody. And speaking of the championship standings, here's how they look. 75 points for Aidan Walshingham at the top of the shop. Luca Locio in second on 54. Luke Whitehead on 45 in third. Leonardo Pagano on 34 points in fourth. Ethan Faulkner, 28 points in fifth. Matthew De Campo, 26 points in sixth place. Kieran Prendergast in 18th point territory, seventh place on the table. Alexander Chiron, the Frenchman, on 7 points, eighth position at this stage. And we can move down to see P9 onwards as well. Obviously, still a lot of points to be had throughout the course of this championship. Stefano Bonsignore sat on 6. We have Simone Seminara on 4. Looking further down, we have 2 drivers on 2 points. Yanis Reinders, who was involved in that incident earlier on tonight, sat on 2 points in 11th. Alessandro Alfano in 12th. Linus Ruswich in 13th. And then Marvin Butsin on 1 point as well, joining Ruswich down in 14th. And then Simone Eze, Leon Hop still chasing their first points. Of course, Hop was involved in that incident we saw earlier on, obviously after a challenging race. But clearly a man who is just in his stride right now, Aidan Walshingham, off the back of that interview, just thought, no problem. Got the job done. He was calm, cool and collected enough to reeling off the year he has had. Again, another driver who has class, ability in abundance, 27 years of age, has still got his whole life ahead of him. Plenty of years, I'm sure, of success still lying wait for Aidan Walshingham. I mean, if he alluded to the fact that Silverstone, he hasn't necessarily practiced on it in a while, but a strong track for him still, I think, Nina.
He said, strong track for me, and shrugged it off. He was as calm as you like, George. And that quiet confidence, it intimidates people. I reckon he'll go well at Silverstone as well.
He's got a great poker face, has he not? I mean, again, it's going to be very tricky for them. And obviously, we'll have to find out if it's going to be a royal flush in terms of race victories when we head to Silverstone. But looking at the likes of Luca Locio, they're going to be obviously digesting that tonight. It just seemed to be too many occasions for Locio where he would be impacted with whatever was going on in P3, whether it be Luke Whitehead or Ethan Faulkner, maybe took his mind away from Aidan Walshingham and just allowed him to career onwards.
Agreed. I think in race 2, he was the closest he was to Walshingham, and he really should have made more of that. He was close with him the whole race. He didn't actually make any moves on him. So I think he will take this away, learn, and come back stronger for Silverstone.
And there's still a few names as well we'd expect to be a little higher. Maybe Kieran Prendergast to be having a revisit as well, looking back at some of the form. He, of course, involved in a few moments as well. Had to claw back himself into the points fray of things when things didn't quite go his way. But again, another driver we could probably see coming back with a bang at Silverstone as well, Nina?
Yeah, I think a lot of drivers had to dig deep today. A few of them had incidences, things that didn't really go their way, so they had to dig deep, and they spent most of their races recovering rather than thriving, should we say. But I actually think Silverstone will be a strong track for a lot of these drivers, so let's watch the space, George.
Watch this space indeed, and obviously the likes of Ethan Faulkner, who was very imposing through the course of that one too, the man from Belfast in Northern Ireland, who has also won plenty through the course of this year. You never know, he could bounce back. I must say I was really impressed with his pace, 1:42.8 was in his last lap. Don't forget, folks, obviously, if you want to compete and take part in the Ferrari HP Esports Series, you can. Thrustmaster Community Cup Hot Lap Challenge is obviously out front and center. You can register now at esportseries.ferrari.com to get involved. We do, of course, have each week a standalone Hot Lap week. The winner receives a Thrustmaster Ferrari 250 GTO wheel add-on. And, of course, you never know, you could stamp your ticket to join this bunch for those that qualify to Ferrari World Yas Island Abu Dhabi at our grand final for the Ferrari HP Esports Series. So it's all to play for. But today it went the way of one Aidan Walsingham. He waltzed to success, plucking the strings of his guitar in the process. The question is, can he do it again when he heads to Silverstone? From me, George, and Nina, it's been a pleasure. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.